What up, peeps? It's your girl, Josh, come back to you from Real Takes. Today, it's that time again. It's movie news time, and I have quite a bit. And a lot of this is all things Sony and all things DC, because a lot has gone down in the last week, and I'm excited to talk about it. I do have a couple of them that have nothing to do with Sony and DC. You know, I got to mix it up for you guys, but since there's so much of it, I think I have probably what? 10 plus things to discuss. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Now, first order of business. Is the movie Bond 25. Now, I have been waiting to hear more information on this, of course, starring Daniel Craig as James Bond. I know the movie is, of course, slated to come out of November of next year. Now, a couple of things have been going on with this movie. Granted, you know, this talk now, Daniel Craig is coming up. He's done how many now? We have Casino Royale, which was in '06. We had Quantum of Solace in '08. Then what was it? Skyfall, if I'm not mistaken, 2012. And then we had Spectre, which came out in 2015. So that's four so far, and now this will be his fifth movie, and what most likely will be his final. This is a grueling and intensive type of role. So I know as years go by, and it's been quite a few years, when you say 2006 and now 2018, he's kind of getting to the point where he's probably ready to move on. So of course he's contractually obligated most likely to do this last and final one, and now they're trying to kind of throw out some things in regards to who could take the mantle. Now, I know they had been discussing how it keeps coming up where a name pops out, and it's one particular name I keep hearing that would like to be considered, and that is Idris Elba. Now, I'm totally down for that. He's been in multiple different types of roles where I can see the appeal and the vibe for that. Of course, one of my favorites of him was when he did the role on The Wire. From back in the day. That's how long it's gone back. I mean, he's done many other movies. You know, he can be very, enticing suit, the voice, but most of the movies he's always, has some sort of American type of voice, whichever. But of course, he's British. Then, of course, I'm doing the show from BBC, Luther, which he's great in. So I can see the appeal, and it's doable now. I know one of the helms of the producers of James Bond, her name is, I want to say, Barbara Broccoli, and she's put out that we've had, seven, including Daniel, actors who have played James Bond out of all these years, and they've all been white male. Now, I know they're considering, diversifying the actual character, either, with maybe a black male, maybe even a female. That's a possibility as well. We'll have to see how they're going to pan that out, but also that would be interesting. I know Idris has said in other interviews, when people brought this to his attention, when he's interviewing for other movies he's working on, this comes up, and he says, even though that's, he loves the thought of them considering him, but he says, what's wrong with a female, taking the charge, whatever. I don't think they're there yet. I would love that. Do not get me wrong. There's many other movies I've seen over the course, where, the women who play agents, whichever, who can kick butt and do their thing. Of course, we have Atomic Blonde just recently came out. And then, of course, I'm working on the movie that I'm looking forward to seeing, which will most likely, hopefully, come out in 2020, is Black Widow. So it's not like it's not doable. But James Bond being that franchise, I don't mind them switching up with the diversity and having, a black male do it for a change. That would be refreshing. And then eventually, over time, if it becomes a hit, and then they decide to have a female take the lead on, that would be great too. And they'd have to really search long and hard, because honestly, if it does very well, I don't foresee it being just one film. They might do two. You have to see. That's like they said. There's discussion of right now with the movie, of course, in production, them considering now a female lead as a villain. So I know they're considering, the top producers have a name in mind, and her name is Helen Bonham Carter. I am a fan of her work. I love her. That would be awesome. She plays good villain as well as playing always, the good person in some of her characters as of lately. I loved when she did, of course, the Harry Potter movies when she plays a villain. Most of the time when I don't see her in that particular role, she's always playing a person, the good type of person in most of her films. So this is nice to see her in another aspect of playing a villain with a totally different type of franchise, which is nice and it's refreshing. Also, I'm curious to see who's going to come back from previous films. Is Moneypenny going to come back? Naomi Harris, or Jeffrey Wright coming back? That's an idea. I've been hearing another name that's being thrown out, possibly Mark Strong. We just don't know, and I'm looking forward to getting more information with that. But I'm excited that now it's come to the forefront because now they are in the possibilities of now looking at casting for other characters in the roles. Because I think Naomi stated she had not said she was, really considering coming back on board. Whatever, they make the money right, please. They probably will, and she might consider it. If she doesn't have anything else going on, why not? The last movie I just saw her in, which was in the movie with Dwayne Johnson, which was Rampage, and she did a great job in that. So we'll have to see. We already know Jeffrey Rice, he's doing his thing. He's on a very well-known hit show on HBO, Westworld, so he's doing his thing as well. So yes, I hope we have some familiar faces. Looking forward to some new faces. Of course, in the villain category, we'll have to see who's going to be the side female, character. He always has some sort of love interest as well. They might not do that, but it's a possibility. But it'll be sad when Daniel Craig is no longer a part of the actual franchise, because I know a lot of people kind of weren't sure about him, his overall look, his appearance, and everything. I remember the last one we had prior to him, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Pierce Brosnan. I liked him. I liked Timothy Dalton when he only did the one. And then, of course, I love me some Sean Connery. He was one of my favorites in this particular franchise. So we'll have to see. I'm looking forward to it. I love the James Bond films. Honestly, I loved Casino Royale, Quantum Solace. I really didn't care for that at all. Loved Skyfall. It was so perfectly done. And then when they did Spectra storyline, yeah, it was okay, but not a lot there for me. So I'm hoping this last and final one with Daniel Craig and the title role will be great, and I'm looking forward to action. Secondly, one last thing, a name came up that they claimed had spoken with Barbara Broccoli was Antoine Fuqua possibly coming on, if in fact when Daniel finishes his reign as Bond, if he comes on, depending if they're going to diversify it a little bit, either female or an African male, that he would probably direct one of them. So that kind of, throws that out there as a possibility as well. And him throwing out there about Idris Elba, the physicality of it all, whichever, like I said, is very demanding. You see James Bond, you see Daniel Craig as James Bond. He is physically fit. You got to, keep that stamina. You see many of the movies, you see the amount of running, all the stuff that, acrobatics, the fight sequences, it's just great. And I'm looking forward to seeing, like I said, the last and final one with him, and then seeing who they have in mind. That's going to be a lot of searching to see who's going to take the helm after this, and they're going to get scrutinized because Daniel did, and he proved himself, and people were happy with it. So no pressure, but I'm excited because, I love the Bond stuff, so I'm here for it regardless. So long as that story is right and they have the right person who can show that they're going to make it their own, there's nothing wrong with that. So I have no problem with that. So, but moving on. The next order of business, talk about a little bit of Marvel. Recently, Evangeline Lilly did an interview, and she discussed how she really does feel that if MCU Marvel wants to go in the direction of, diversifying it with more, female characters being more empowered, that they feel like if they do the all-female movie of a Marvel movie, Captain Marvel should be at the helm. Now, some people are throwing out there, and she considered, I could, be considered, but then she figures that's a lot of pressure, which I find really interesting that she said it like that. But that's fine, But when you think about that, Captain Marvel, and if I'm not mistaken, she would be good. And let me tell you what she says. She says, well, it seems only natural Captain Marvel would lead because she's a general, and she's the captain. Case in point, Captain America leads the other Avengers, right? So maybe Captain Marvel would lead, and I think so. And I take that as a good point. That is interesting because he always steps to the challenge, whichever. You might not know all the, the ins and outs of how to do this. He has his team around him, and they add on and they work together because he likes to do things as a team, but he's always at the front of the team, whichever, So I can see, I understand where she's going with that, and that would probably be good. I would love to see the ladies all come together and do a movie. I love that we're going to see that moving forward. Of course, the Wasp, aka Evangeline's character, being top co-billing on the movie with Ant-Man, which was great. And then now we have Captain Marvel coming out next year. If I'm not mistaken, it's March. I want to make sure I wrote the date down. March 8th of next year. And then of course, discussion coming in, like I stated before, Black Widow being up and ready to go for them to start production, possibly opening for the movie to come out in 2020. So my fingers are crossed for that one. But yeah, that is a good thing. I'm kind of glad because most of the movies, and let's just be honest, are all mostly male led, and this will be nice and refreshing. Kevin Feige, being one of the top people in charge of Marvel, he has had his eye on that, and as a thought, and you never know. Once Captain Marvel comes out, I think we'll have more of an idea of how that's going to pan out. If it does real well, and a lot of people are excited, let's just say at the end of Infinity War, when you see the scene, and I'm hoping everybody's seen the movie because I hope I'm not spoiling for anyone. My apologies if I'm not, but I'm just going to move forward. The scene with Samuel L. Jackson's character, trying to reach out, and you saw his, whatever monitor, whatever, phone fall when he disintegrated. You see the logo and symbol of Captain Marvel. And everybody in my theater at that time were freaking out and they were excited because that it's just going to be awesome. I'm excited to see Brie Larson do her thing as Captain Marvel. We know the film wrapped up at the beginning of July. That text, the tweet was sent out saying it's a wrap. So they're probably just finalizing, any type of CGI, any edits, whatever. And hopefully, I want to think by Christmas time, we might get a trailer. It might be a little teaser. Maybe January we get a real trailer, whichever. So I think it's going to do well. Marvel seems to be on par with delivering, good quality with their movies, and they're doing their thing. So I'm really excited at the prospect of them considering this, and I'm hoping it does good because that just gives more incentive for them to consider, like, you know what, you might be right. And I think they will be because the way that DC is going about it with Sony, they're going to give them a run for the money in that aspect of the female stuff. And speaking on that, I'm going to get to that soon. Another thing I want to discuss, speaking of female empowerment. There's another movie I'm looking forward to coming out. It's actually coming out this November. Is The Girl in the Spider's Web. I'm excited to see that. Now, you all know I had discussed this a couple weeks ago how I love the franchise, the book series. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Now, I previously enjoyed the ones that Numi Rapace was in. She's one of my favorite actresses. I enjoy her work. And then, of course, when they talked about this coming back and David Fincher being attached to it, I'm a fan of his work as a director. Wasn't sure how I would feel about the casting, but of course, fan of Daniel Craig. And then when I figured out who was going to play Lisbeth Salander, it was going to be Rooney Mara. I wasn't sure how I felt. Pictures started floating with her out and her and the overall look of the character. And I was like, okay. Then I saw the trailer, looked really good. So I said, let me give it a chance, whichever. She might, prove me wrong because trust and believe me, Numa Rapace did her thing in those. So once I saw that, when this one came out, in 2011, it was very good, very effective. She actually got nominated, for an Oscar. So that even heightened it more. Now, for the longest time, we had been waiting for them to give us a follow-up to that, to continue the trilogy of the books, and nothing happened. I don't know if it was time constraints, the storyline wasn't coming together, the script, whatever, and then it just fell out. So when I heard stories that they were bringing it back, all had came to kind of part where Daniel Craig was not on board, Rooney was not on board, and we had to get a whole new director. Now, at first I wasn't sure how I was going to feel, but then when I found out Fede Alvarez was attached to it. He's a director. He did an awesome job with the movie, the re-imaging remake of Evil Dead. And then, of course, doing the movie Don't Breathe. I was on board. I like his work. I like what I'm seeing, so I give it the benefit. Now, we have our new Lisbeth that is played by Clara Foy, and I'm excited for that. And let's just say a couple of things have come up with some articles where he talked to Fede Alvarez recently, where they were asking him how he, felt about the previous cast and how it is. And he states, as a director, I just didn't like the idea of taking someone else's cast, which I can say that's understandable. As much as I admired Fincher, as a filmmaker, I think Rooney Mara and Fincher's Elizabeth is right. And I wanted to have my own. And I can understand that because I keep wondering sometimes, even with movies, when you have a particular cast, I can use a good example for right now. Granted, it's bad publicity with it. James Gunn with doing Guardians of Galaxy, the third one. He has been pulled due to some, very inappropriate stuff that happened in his past. He has apologized, whichever, but they're staying firm with that. They don't want to bring him on board. Some of the cast has, come across. They want to just, plead their case to bring him back. Same thing with Kevin, wanted to plead their case. Marvel trying to speak in his favor. Disney's trying to stick tight to that, and it's understandable. Now, the thing is this, whoever they're going to bring on as a director, it's going to be that tension there, whichever. So trying to deal with, the cast being that they're like they're like kind of like a tight unit. They've already done 2 movies together. They're doing this third one. So it's like, yeah, you can see how that's going to be a problem. Some of the cast members, even Dave, Bautista, he's, feels very strongly, about stepping aside from the third, one if they don't use a script from Gunn. So right there, like I said, when you're a tight unit and you all come together, that could play a part. Now, saying Fede Alvarez did decide he wanted to work with Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara again. There's a possibility they could have clicked, but then you have to kind of get the full flow of how they did the first. I mean, watch it, see that chemistry, see if he can work that whatever within the script, get that vibe again, whichever and all that. And I can see how he's like, you know what, I'd rather start from scratch. Claire Foy is a great actress. I'm looking forward to seeing her do her thing. The trailer looks excellent. It had caught me from the first time I saw it, so that's why I'm excited to see it. Excuse me. So yeah, I see his point, and I like when directors say that, because that's just them being honest. Let me start fresh. There's no need, to use the same cast. And sometimes it's going to happen. It's going to be other roles, other movies, where certain things might happen if they're doing, say, for instance, like I said, a sequel, another part of the story being told through, of course, like I said, the different books of this particular book series, so to speak. So yeah, I'm excited to see this. Fede Alvarez, I'm looking forward to it because I know he's working on some other stuff, and I'm happy to see his take on this. Also, after this, depending on how good this is, will they continue on? That's the question I want to know. I think it's going to do very well. I'm really hoping if it does well, he does the next one. That would be nice, and keep Claire, because if it does well, they might have kept the opening on the contract for her to sign on board to do the next one. So we'll have to see. My fingers are crossed. I know Fede Alvarez is already putting out there his next order of work. Putting out little polls to see if people are interested in the Don't Breathe 2 and Evil Dead, the second one coming up. So I already don't mind him doing another Evil Dead. He was welcomed to open arms, by Bruce Campbell and, Sam Raimi, and he did a great job. Sam Raimi, of course, producing, kind of giving his little take on it to, guide him. So, kudos to him. I'm looking forward to seeing some interviews with the cast talking about this and their take on that. So, that's just my, feelings about that. So moving on. Oh, and also it comes out in November, like I said, November 9th to be exact. So speaking of other women empowerment, I'm excited. The more I hear about Wonder Woman, the more excited I get. Wonder Woman's the set photo of, get an idea of Cheetah's origin. Now, you already know, I posted a couple weeks ago showing some screenshots of Kristen Wiig with a harness where she's leaping up. It looks like she's somewhere in the middle of the night, and she's jumping up on top of what look like a side of a building of sorts, whatever. So, this my excitement hype for understanding her prowess, her powers that she's going to have. And I'm excited because, like I said before, when I first heard that Kristen Wiig was on board, wasn't sure how I felt about it. I see her more along the lines of the comedic parts of her in a lot of the movies she's done. She's been branching out a little bit more in serious roles over time, and don't get me wrong, she does her part very well. But this is a DCEU movie. This is Wonder Woman. A lot of us feel very strongly about this. Her doing her part as Cheetah, whatever, and all the action sequences. However, she's going to come into this, because you're going to have the action. You're going to, of course, have a little bit of the drama, whichever. So it's like she's getting a little bit of everything. I don't think it's going to be a lot of added comedy, so to speak, from her. I think other characters might be in it. I said Natasha Rothwell, but I'm not sure what her character is going to be actually about, because that has not been told to us yet, but she has been cast as well. But she does a lot of stuff that's comedy related as well. She even worked with Kristen Wiig in one of her last years when she was on SNL back in 2016. So that's why I like that thought of her coming on board on that part, and Kristen Born of the series. Now, they're saying that the picture I'm going to post, it shows to be, and let me read off, an Egyptian village set that was spotted built in the Canary Island of, I'm going to try my best, please don't fault me for this, Fuerteventura. I could be saying it wrong. Excuse me. I'll probably butcher it. The photo comes prior to filming actually taking place at this location. Now, they said, but the Egyptian setting is what has caught a lot of the attention. And when I saw the picture myself, I was like, of course, I'm going to discuss it right here. Now, the Canary Islands was going to be one of the locations used in Wonder Woman anyway for the Wonder Woman 1984. Now, speculation has come up, and let me read what it says. It said it could be the location of Cheetah's true origin. In the comics, Barbara Minerva becomes Cheetah after going through a ritual to gain the powers of the Cheetah god Urskartaga. Possibly might be saying it right. Even though Wiig is playing Minerva's version of Cheetah, whether or not the film stays true to the comic origin That is not clear as of right now, although the first image indicates, they're being faithful with that. And if anybody who reads the comics and they saw a picture, they could probably be more accurate with me than I can myself. I'm just learning as I go with this particular villain that's within the particular Wonder Woman, universe. So I'm excited. I'm more and more that Patty gives us, which I call breadcrumbs. I love it. I'm looking forward to seeing this movie. I'm so excited for Wonder Woman. We waited long enough. We got the first one. Now we're getting the sequel to it. It's just like, finally. And I'm just glad that her and Gal Gadot, the relationship, the bond and whatever, it shows what the way Gal portrays Wonder Woman. So I'm excited to see what Kristen Wiig is going to bring to the table. I'm looking forward to seeing that reveal of her and Cheetah. I really feel like it's going to be mostly CGI, whichever. I'm getting that vibe. But if they show her in costume or whatever, that'll be so nice. The overall transformation of it all. It's just the more and more she says, the more and more I get hyped to know more. We have a long way to go, but I don't care. I really pray. At the beginning of the year, maybe January, February, she gives us like a little tease. They're going to be able to do Comic-Con for this, and that's when it's all going to really come out. We're going to see more, but I really pray going into the new year she showcases something so we can see some, or show us like maybe her from the back, or maybe an arm, something. Give us something, Patty, please. I want to see it. Jodie can't have all the fun and loving you and loving Wonder Woman. I love you just as much then some. So just to say that. But yes, November of next year, November 1st, and there's a lot coming out next year. So they picked probably a good month prior to December to come out with some good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, speaking of a lot more, women empowerment. I was discussing some other things prior to that with Sony, whichever. News has come out. I had discussed this last year about what was it? The movie Silver and Black. Now, they discussed Gina Plywood being attached to this, and I was excited because it's, opening up some more characters, more female, characters within, DCEU. And for the longest time, I didn't hear anything. We didn't hear anything about them talking about it, discussing it, what's going to happen with it, whichever. Now, word is out that it's back on board, but now they're going to be both giving their own movie. We're going to have Silver Sable, we're going to have Black Cat doing their solo movies, and I'm fine with that. Now, when I say that, all I want to know is Gina still going to be attached to this, in which way? Because word is out that she's either going to be mostly producing, don't know if she's still directing. I'm hoping one of these movies she will be directing. That would be nice. She's a great producer and director. So I'm really hoping that, her hands are in it some sort of way with both of these standalone movies. Now, I think they're claiming Black Cat might be the main one that's going to start first. It's going to come out with her own movie. Now, these, if I'm not mistaken, I see Sony's doing this thing where they're using DC's for Spider-Man, his like more of a villain universe type of thing franchise. We're dealing with a lot of the villains of Spider-Man. I kind of see. We're starting off, of course, with Venom first and foremost, and then we're going to see how well that does, and then continue that on. But it seems like it's already in the works as I state this already. Now, they said, as they put it, we believe Black Cat is enough for her own character with a great backstory and a canon of material to draw from to justify her own film. And I'm hoping so. Now, also casting plays a part. No names drop out to me. Once they give us listings of some people they're looking at, whatever, of course, they're going to be in costume, so it really doesn't matter. But they have that, of course, like I said, aesthetics, action sequences, that's going to play a part, as well. So that will be interesting. And of course, I always wonder if they're doing all this, whatever, is this going to be their way of kind of slowly working and maneuvering their way into the Spider-Verse, so to speak. You never know. I just love that I'm seeing these female characters coming to life, and it actually is refreshing. Like I stated before with Marvel, they're kind of seeing it and they're trying to find their way into this, but it looks like in this part, DC is kind of getting a one step ahead, because now these things are getting ready to become movies that are going to be put into production. So they're happening. We already discussed a couple of weeks ago, and I keep bringing it up every now and then, is Birds of Prey. I'll be discussing that shortly as well in more detail. So we'll have to see how that plans out. But like I said, Gina Prince Blythewood, she definitely is still attached. We just don't know how attached she will be. But like I said, I'm hoping if she's not the director, like they stated last year, she's still the producer. She'll still have some input to make sure the storyline is great. And yeah, they give us that origin story, so it's really good. And I'm really hoping, because I really have plan to be there day one to see this. I'm excited for that. That will be awesome. So yeah, you guys, it looks like Sony, DC are definitely making sure they get that and inclusion to diversity and showing more so of this whatever. So everything's not just, male led, which is what I've been discussing previously before this one. So, but yes, speaking of female, again, empowerment, Sony is definitely trying to recruit more female directors. That's why I brought up Gina. That would be nice as well. Now, one thing I will say, and I'll discuss this, got my little notes here, female characters like Silk. That's another one I'm not familiar with. I know she's a Korean American crime fighter. I would love to see more of her. And then another one I hear is Jackpot. I'm looking forward to knowing more about them. I'm gonna probably start doing a lot more research on these. Once they bring up these more in discussion, we already know about Sony and DC being a part of the movie that Jared Leto is going to be in, which is called, what is it, Morbius. I'm looking forward to that. And I think the title for it is called Morbius. At first, they were doing it as Morbius, the Living Vampire, but they've shortened the title for him as now. But yes, according to Blythewood, she's currently expected to only produce Silver Sable and Black Cat, like I stated. Also, just the thought of some other names being put out there. Of course, like I said, Jared Leto's doing his. Then we have them considering that also. I heard word is out that Spike Lee is being considered to be at the helm for Nightwing now. I discussed it a couple weeks ago how certain someone had went to go talk to the powers that be over at Sony for DC about Nightwing, but he's just saying they're meeting for other projects as well. It's a possibility, whichever, but I'm hoping that would be nice because that would be a different genre for Spike Lee to be in. I'm so used to him doing a lot more, drama, stuff instead of, a little bit of suspense thriller, of course, a little bit comedy, but never in really the horror genre, so to speak, or comic book genre, excuse me. So we'll have to see about that. That would be interesting. And if he decides to take the helm, as long as he has the right people around him to guide him in the comics, I don't know if he's a comic lover or fan. I could be not versed in not knowing that. He could be and knows all about Nightwing, so let me just not assume. So that would be actually something refreshing, and just to hear him discussing comic book discussions and what he knows about Nightwing and seeing what he can bring to the table, whichever, and all that. You could imagine how many more fans he'd get just from being a part of that and doing a good job at it if he does be considered to be at the helm of Nightwing. So fingers crossed for that. But yeah, girl, I'm just looking forward to seeing like I said, more diversity, whichever, within DC and Marvel. And this is a good step ahead for DC because it looks like they're so far above with the female-led cast that they're doing right now. Like I said, Marvel, they're already on point with other things, but this is one of those areas they're trying to work on. They got a good job because they do have Captain Marvel coming out next year, like I said, and of course, our girl Black Widow coming out probably the following year. So yeah, they're getting there. They might exceed again, but I think DC's like, no, we're gonna put our stake on this too, whatever, and all, so we can be toe to toe or even before them. So I'm excited for that. So, but speaking of that as well, Birds of Prey, like I stated, I'm excited to say with that one, I discussed it. Of course, Margot Robbie coming back as Harley Quinn. We now have a villain. And the villain is titled Black Mask. I'm not familiar with that. Of course, like I said, I need to get a little bit more familiar, but I'm excited. Also, within her group of girls, you're going to have, of course, Black Canary and Huntress. I'm excited. I'm familiar with Black Canary off of Arrow, but I look forward to seeing it in the movie sphere, of course, more so than watching it off of the television series. I like the way they do it on that, but I'm looking more excited to see who they're going to cast as well. I'm excited because just learning a little bit more about him, it's really nice. They said, of course, him being in the comics, whatever, he's a perfectly good person to play the villain in this movie, whichever, which is nice. Now, I'm just curious who they're going to cast as Black Mask, which will be nice to know. Since it's been revealed now, the villain, hopefully they're getting on the ball with who will be the actual person to lead the charge. I know he's one of those main villains, also for Batman as well, underground crime, whichever, within Gotham. So I'm actually excited about that and learning more about him as time goes on prior to the movie coming out. I'm thinking, from what they're stating, this movie is supposed to begin production very soon. And hopefully she's finishing up that movie with was it Quentin Tarantino. So we'll have to see. Once that's wrapped up, she'll probably start this, for the production of this. I know she's still attached to the Jared Leto movie with Harley Quinn and Joker as well too. So, and of course Suicide Squad too. So the girl's busy. So I'm excited to see her do her thing in this, and I just love the way her take is on Harley Quinn. So I'm excited about that. That should be awesome. And just seeing this, but just loving that these things are coming together for DC just makes me very happy, because like I said, I want both of them to win. Marvel, of course, is winning all over the place, but I want DC to do their thing. It looks like they have a lot of stuff in store for us, so I'm excited for them for that. As well, like I said, speaking of Morbius, I wanted to bring up that speaking of that character to be played by Jared Leto, I'm now hearing about a female lead that's being reported to be Martine Bancroft. Not familiar with that. Of course, got to learn up on my comics a little bit here as well. But I am getting word that Jared Leto will be starting a production on this movie come this November. So I'm not sure what else he's working on at the moment, or he's finishing up anything. But yes, I'm excited to see this. I'm excited for this movie. When I went to do my research just to see exactly what the comic book character looked like, he looks horrific. And I was totally here for that. Him, of course, playing a vampire. I love vampire movies, so I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the table for this. Now, them talking about the female lead, I'm curious to see, of course, who they will cast in this movie. Now, when I did this, I decided to read up on this, chief female lead. She's central to his origin story, which you already know I love a good origin story. So adding a human dimension to the tragedy of Michael. Martine has become a central character. She came, I think, a part of it, they said, in the 70s for the actual comic book, whichever, of Adventures into Fear series. So it says it continues where she was the love for Michael, gave the scientist a reason to turn himself human. Again, she was trying to help, I'm assuming, because, of course, he's a doctor. I think his name is Dr. Michael Morbius. So he has some sort of blood issue, whichever, and all that, which causes him, and he ends up, turning himself into a vampire. She comes across him, or comes across his first victim, whichever, and I think that's when she figures out, what happened to him. Now, I think from what they say, also, which I'm loving, depending on how good this is, this can move on to other parts. It says, unfortunately, Morbius' fiance would end up involved with the so-called cult of the New Order, brainwashed into serving as one of the cult's priestess. She betrayed Morbius to them. That experience finally led Martine to realize her love for Michael was cooling, and the two went their separate ways. And eventually, from what they're saying, he eventually has to kill her because she comes out of control, because she then becomes a vampire herself, a little down the line, whichever. So I'm looking forward to seeing them do the origin. I figure within the origin story and within the first movie, we might get introduced to Martine Bancroft's character. If not, if the movie does very well, it's very successful, then he might do a second one, and then we'll be introduced to her in this new order they talk about the cult. That will be exciting. I love just reading this part of my notes about the possibility of that. It just opens up more, more of the role, more of the understanding of the character, more of Jared Leto, digging his, his fangs into the actual role. So yeah, I'm excited for that, and just excited to see. And like I said, look forward to seeing who you're going to cast. I did look up her overall look appearance for Martine. I should have checked that out, but that's fine. I might post it up in here somewhere, whichever. That'll give me an idea of which actress who's out as of right now. But once I know, because they're going to probably start talking about it as it gets closer to fall, we'll start getting more word of who else has been cast in this. And as you all know me, I will let you all know about that. So moving on. Now, the last thing I want to talk to about Sony, well, prior to that, is Ben Affleck. I discussed this last week about him still being involved. Matt Reeves putting out there that he still hasn't verified who would be cast to play, Batman, so to speak. Now, granted, Ben is still attached. Right now, it looks like Ben will still be producing Batman. Word is out, it's a possibility if they're looking for a younger version that's 10 or 15 years younger than him, they can still use this person to be the main lead of the Batman movie, and they can have other flashbacks or parts of him. I don't know if it's going to be future or present day or whatever, and this more Batman will be one that's more so his younger side or whatever, so we'll get to see Batman in those earlier days as opposed to Ben doing the helm, where he's not doing any of the combat, the fighting, and him being more so, like I said, future one where you see like he wasn't Justice League, where he's just, kind of, much older, brooding or whatever. Fine. I would have preferred them showing him having, his own villain, whichever, him fighting again, crime fighting, whatever, and all, saving the day, whatever, and then just showing him evolving as Batman over the years, him getting, a younger version of him in the early 20s, whatever, and then having him, of course, in his late 40s, whatever. But we'll have to see how that pans out, whatever. I just, I'm glad to see he is producing, but kind of takes away from, like I said, a lot of us became invested. A lot of people weren't feeling him at first. Saw those first couple of trailers for Batman vs. Superman, whichever, and all that. But then, like I said, it was one scene, was a fight scene in that warehouse, and it just had me on board fully because a lot of people said it was based off of the actual games, and he did a good job in those fight scenes. So a lot of people were down for him. And now this, back and forth, whatever, not sure, whatever. I just don't know how to take it, but this is Hollywood. People can change their mind, decide they don't want to. But if he's, like I said, contractually obligated to still be attached to this, he has to be attached in some form. Otherwise, he's going to have to be owing some money, or he's going to put himself in situations where he can't get out with this particular movie. So that lets me know he's still attached. We'll have to see. I'm curious to see who Matt Reeves is going to put in the helm, or who he's looking at. Don't know anything yet. He says the script is basically done. We don't know how the script is. I could just be throwing out there some hot air with what I think is perceived to be how he's going to do the actual role of Batman in the solo film, but we'll have to see how that goes. Plus, Ben has something else he's working on as well that he wants to do, because this will free him up to do all that extra stuff with the movie if he's not playing the main Batman who's going to be doing all the fight, whatever. Because he's working on a movie called The McDonald's Monopoly Theft Film. I'd heard about that. And I'm like, okay. So that's what makes me think, if he's doing this, whatever, where will he be? Meaning if he is a producer, that means he's definitely not going to be really in the film like I think so. We'll have to see, you guys. And if they're starting production, I'm figuring if not late this year, going into next year. Because I don't know if he's actually starting production on that other film, the theft film, or if he's starting with this one. We don't know. So once I know more about when exactly production starts, it'll kind of give me an idea, because I'm thinking if they're going to work on this late this year, early next year, this movie's probably not going to come out till 2020 anyway. And that means that Matt Reeves has to lock in that date, because there's stuff that they're working on for 2020. I'm still talking about things for 2019, but it doesn't mean that, there's some other movies down the pike that are going to be taking up some good slots for the summer blockbuster season time. So we'll have to see with that. So, but the last thing I'm going to talk about with Sony, and it's something going from being happy about what's happening with Sony and DC with all these different characters, movies, whatever. There's one thing about a movie that I'm excited about, but I'm not happy about what they're trying to do with the MPAA rating, is Venom. Now, I spoke with somebody briefly on my social media, and he said I'd heard of it. Didn't hear anything of it, but he put it out there, whatever, and I said, I'll discuss it later. They're considering changing the rating from possibly rated R, because I've seen a recent trailer, and it said rated R, to PG-13. I don't know why they feel the need to do this, and I read up on what they're saying, and let me just put this out there. I'm just going to read it. It says, in Variety's report on Venom and the future of Sony's Marvel films, it stated that the studio feels Venom should push the very limits of PG-13 without skirting into R-rated territory. In theory, this would make it easier for Tom Hardy's Venom to cross over with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and the rest of the MCU, as those films neatly fit into the 4-quadrant confines of PG-13. You see a keyword, neatly. This shouldn't be taken as confirmation. Venom will be integrated into MCU, but it sounds like that's a possibility of this fall's film is successful. You see my face?
Bitch, please.
Do I look like I'm happy about that? Neatly? Really? Why? I'm just like, why are you all doing that? That rating, it worked good for Deadpool and it worked good for Logan. Why do you feel like you all should not do that for Venom? I'm like, because I feel like if it does well, and I feel like it will, they're going to want to probably do another one, because I feel like I said, in the last trailer, they did not show Carnage. That makes me think he'll be somewhere at the last bit of the movie, and then we're going to see Carnage showcased in the second one. I feel like I'm confident enough to say I think we're going to have a Venom number 2. It's going to happen. And what? You don't think it's going to be, it should just be straight, PG-13, so you're going to cut out all the good stuff, him, eating heads, brains, whatever. We're not going to get to see all that because you want to keep it neatly PG-13. That's some garbage. That's how I feel. I'm not happy about that. I'm just not happy about them changing the rating. I want to see it all. For so long, and a lot of people who are Spider-Man fans, so I do love Spider-Man. I do not read the comics, but I do like Spider-Man for what I've seen over the years. And I'm going to tell you like this, a lot of people have been wanting a Venom. They wanted to cross over with the Venom anyway with Spider-Man. Hopefully down the road we will get that. That will be nice and great and good. Now, with this, it is a standalone movie. A lot of them knows and understand the character of Venom being the way he is, and it's only fitting for it to be R. So I want to understand how they think this is going to pen well with the fans and make them excited to go see this if you decide to change that rating now. I'm hoping it's not true, and I'm hoping they're not, because I'm telling you like this, if they get enough backlash, people be pissed off, they might switch it back. And I'm going to tell you like this, if they want this movie to do well, they better leave that alone. I'm getting tired of them thinking they know what they're talking about and what they're doing. Sometimes they don't, and all it does is mess with what they all about, which is always just the money. They don't care really truly about the moviegoers. They want the money, and they'll say whatever they need to do and put us in the seats or whatever. So in the end, it's all about how much money they can make for these film companies. So I have no words for that. That was some straight. I'm trying to keep it PG-13 with my comments because I was about to get rated R and say something I don't want to say on here. I don't want my video getting flagged. So let's just say, yeah, it's garbage. I'm not here for that stuff, but whatever. One other thing for DC I want to discuss that I'm actually excited about is Supergirl. Now, I remember the movie Supergirl. I enjoyed that immensely when I was growing up. Of course, watching Superman, Clark Kent, aka Christopher Reeve. Just, oh my goodness, love me some DC back in the day. I watched DC more than I watched Marvel. The only thing from Marvel I think did watch really faithfully was The Incredible Hulk. That was it, because I love me some Hulk. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're trying to do with the Supergirl movie now. Granted, we already know they have a TV show for Supergirl with the character. Her name is Melissa Benoist. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly and all. And it's a great show. I watched the first 2 seasons and all. I need to get caught up. Don't fault me for that. But she does a great job on the TV series. But I feel like they're down to do the actual movie, and I'm so here for that. Curious to know who they want to have as a director. It's not stated as of yet. I'm excited, but I love that DC and Warner Bros. Are tying in to get this up and running since it's out. And remember now, Supergirl should still be out there, because if you all recall the movie, she had a pod that was separate, whichever, from his, whatever, and it was lost, and there was nothing in that pod. So she should be out there somewhere. So it'd be nice if we could get that Supergirl movie to see where she's been at for all this time. And secondly, this will give us a reason of feeling hope down the road, more so me, I can't speak for everyone else, is the fact of us bringing back Henry Cavill as our Man of Steel, so we can have our Man of Steel 2, and then eventually it can parlay into Supergirl. Now, the fact is that I'm curious to know when they're considering doing this. Also, I want to think, okay, let me put it like this. Christopher McQuarrie, since he did, of course, the more recently hit Mission Impossible 6, he's been he's already been basically presented with possibly considering doing Mission Impossible 7. Also, some people said he should consider doing Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill. They worked together, they had a good working relationship. That's a possibility. I would love for him to consider that. Now, he says that he's not on board yet to consider doing Mission Impossible 7. You already know Tom is working on Top Gun 2, so that's right now definitely on hold for MI7, so that's fine. I already knew that was going to happen, please. So I'm curious if he's considering Man of Steel 2. I'm hoping, because I don't know what else Henry Cavill's working on now. He's finished press for MI6. Hopefully, this might be something that's going to come up. I keep up with him on his social media to see if he talks about it, so it's a possibility. We'll know more shortly. I hope so, because that'll kind of give us a time frame of when they're considering doing this. Are they going to do this before Man of Steel 2 now? That's a possibility. I'm curious, and I don't have no problem with that. That will actually be exciting to see. So the more I learn about this, you guys, the more I'm excited to talk about it. So once I know more about that, you all will know as much as me. So moving on. Speaking of remakes, this is a remake I'm really not too happy, honestly, about. I love the one that I grew up watching in the 80s. There was one before that came out in the 1930s. But now they're considering doing this again, and the director who's attached to it, I'm just not sure how I feel about him being involved with this. It is the remake of Scarface. Antoine Fuqua is at the helm. At first he was on board, but then he kind of tapered off. But then he got back on board. He's been itching to get Denzel Washington to come on board with this because they have a good relationship, good friendship, good movie, movie relationship. Excuse me, but Denzel's just not feeling it, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm gonna tell you like this, I feel like deep down inside he's like, that's one of those ones I wouldn't want to mess with, because honestly, the one that came out in the 80s, I want to say 83, was Al Pacino's Scarface, and it was done so good. You'd be amazed how many friends of mine, mostly male friends, whatever, online and offline, whatever, I'll have that poster. They love that Scarface with Al Pacino. That's what I'm just like, do they really want to go there with that? I just don't know how I feel about that. And Antoine Fuqua was kind of iffy because I'm gonna tell you like this: you better get that casting right for whoever's gonna be that lead, male lead, because if you don't, that right there could get scrutinized alone. And if the rest of that movie isn't right, that movie ain't gonna make no money, and they're not gonna feel it. Now, there's a name that's being floated out there. He's on the show Narco, and it's Diego Luna. I'm a fan of his work too. He's a great actor. I can see the potential. I see the look. I'm down for that. He can be considered. He needs to throw out some other faces. See how that pans out there. Get those names out there and see how people take with the vibe of that. Just to get the vibe of him, like in the suit, whatever, and all that. Who's going to be the female lead? Who's going to be a sidekick? With him. All that has to be covered properly. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, my face is straight bent. Like, I don't know. Oh God! But I'm a fan of Antoine Fuqua. He's a great director, so that's why I have a little bit of faith that he might get it right. He's good at the movies that he presents us with. He's been nominated for Oscars or whatever for his previous roles with Denzel and some other work. So it's not like it's not doable. But when it's such a classic like this. I don't know. So yeah, that's just my take on that, you guys. And I really want y'all to comment on that. How do you feel about him doing another remake of Scarface? Yes, it's been over 30 years, I know. But like I say on many remakes, some remakes do not need to be touched. I'm still in my feelings because I'm hearing words that they're considering making one of my favorite films of all time, The Breakfast Club, a remake. And I'm just like, no, how I feel about that. I'm just like, are you kidding me? And then to hear about this one, I just don't know. I just tell you, some things are just better left alone. That's just how I feel. So the more information I get, and if I find out Diego Luna is actually attached to this, whichever, and who else is being casted with this, I will let you all know. But I'm not gonna hold my breath, whatever, because like I said, Antoine Fuqua actually did remove himself from it. And now he's back on it, so he needs to figure out what he's doing because it seems like a lot of procrastinating going on right there. So, but anyway, so moving on. Speaking of some remakes and in some new adaptions, Stephen King seems to be the guy to go to. The man, I can only imagine how much money he's making off these people doing adaptions to his movies and just putting them out there from the novels to make the movie. We have another one coming up. It's called In the Tall Grass. I'm actually excited for this one. Of course, we had the movie Gerald's Game. We also had 1922. We also, of course, have the movie Dr. Sleep. This being worked on. We have the remake eventually coming out. I'm thinking next year for Pet Sematary. Not too happy about that one, but just being honest. And of course, it did very well last year, and now they're actually in the midst of production right now for It Too. So it just seems like his movies are his novels are leading a charge with some good quality films on Netflix and actually in the movie theaters, and I actually think he's very happy about that. I'm curious to see who's going to be cast. I did hear that James Marsden was a cast at first, but he had to step out of this. Now Patrick Wilson, who's also going to be in the new Aquaman film this December, he's at the helm of the cast. He's a very great actor. Of course, he was in the Conjuring movies, so I'm excited for him. I'm not sure who else is cast in this particular adaptation. This one will be a Netflix one as well. They seem to go to Netflix, and like I said, Netflix is doing their thing. I mean, you have the TV shows, you have the movies. They're on par. They're very right up there. I said they're giving a run for their money with certain things with Disney. I see here Disney after this year going to cut back on certain things being on Netflix. Don't like that competition, huh? There's nothing wrong with friendly competition. Don't be scared. And then, of course, giving competition to HBO and other channels. I don't need to have one channel I watch for all the stuff I like to look at for movies and TV. There's nothing wrong with branching it out. So kudos to them for doing their thing. I'm looking forward to seeing this particular one. Once I know more about the cast, we'll know this. It does start production for what they said to come out in 2019. So don't know if it's going to be early spring, maybe summer. This one might be a fall one going around October. You never know. Once I know more about that, I will bring that to your attention as well. Now, moving on. I'm excited for this one because this one's going to look like a sort of a trilogy for Kingsman. We're going to have Kingsman 3, Eggsy's trilogy of sorts. I'm excited for this one. They're stating production for it starts in January. I'm looking forward to seeing Taron Egerton back. I'm looking forward to seeing Colin Firth back. I'm excited to see, hopefully, Halle Berry will be back in her character role, and also What's the brother's name? I done just lost my train of thought. I'm not going to even hurt myself. Hopefully, it'll come back to me. Channing Tatum. Thank you. Hate to disrespect the brother. He was in it as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to bring for this one. From what I'm hearing, it's supposed to be they're going to be doing a Kingsman where it's a prequel and then also the most present day one. So it's going to be done back to back, both filmings of that. So that's going to be interesting to see. I know Taron is getting ready to start doing some press for his new movie Robin Hood with Jamie Foxx. So I'm assuming once he finishes that, he's going to jump right into this to start that because I think that movie comes out in November. So yeah, that's about right. So yeah, he's getting ready to do that, and just looking forward to seeing him. But that buddy, I'm gonna tell you this, he must be in really tip top shape because every time I turn around, he's leaving one movie where he's doing a lot of action in it to go into another movie he's doing action. You just finished Kingsman, 2, and then I'm assuming you must have started on Robin Hood, following up that, movie coming out with Jamie. And I should have known because when I saw Jamie's hair at the time, like I said before, I knew he was working on something. He had to be. And then that was the movie he's working on, the new Robin Hood movie. So, yes. And then now that he's finishing this one up, he's getting ready to start on this one. I'm like, my goodness, that boy stays busy. So, hey, kudos to him. Hey, work is work. So, I'm excited to see this one. I enjoyed the last two. I enjoyed Julianne Moore in this one. I loved Mark Strong in it. And of course, Halle Berry's cast, new character introduced, whichever. I know they're trying to introduce two new cast members, and let me note that. The studio is on the lookout for two new leads. One of the new leads will be a teen by the name of Conrad. This young, cocky, and charming son of a British duke, Conrad is eager to find a way to serve his country during World War I. He says, and perhaps the Kingsman's offer just might be that opportunity. The studio is also looking to cast an older lead male, and while no details about this character have been revealed, we do know that Ralph Fiennes is near or at the top of the studio list. Nice. Fan of Ralph Fiennes. Love him. He's a great actor. That would be awesome if he's in that. That would be something to see. I would love to see him go toe to toe with Colin Firth or whichever, or just the other cast as well, but more Colin Firth than anything. But yes, like I said, I'm hoping Channing Tatum is back. I'm hoping also, like I said, Halle Berry, a little bit more active role because, of course, you saw Kingsman 2 ended where she was trying to get more, a spot in a role within Kingsman. At first, they wouldn't let her, but at the end, she showed her skills and she had a seat at the table. And that was really nice to watch her do that. And then also Jeff Bridges supposed to be in this one, of course, I think as well. So that would be nice to see him as well too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Kingsman 3. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing. And once we see who's actually casting Conrad and the older male lead, of course, I will let you guys know more information about that as well. So the last and final information, and this is a little, not much of a doozy, but kind of unfortunate. Chris Pratt's Cowboy Ninja Viking has been delayed indefinitely. Now, I was excited to talk about it because, like I stated before, when I was talking about stuff, all things live action anime, I'm excited because we're going to get to see Alita Battle Angel very soon. It comes out in December. And then, of course, he's working on this, and that would have came out most likely the following year. But now it's been, is up in arms, and I'm trying to figure out why in the world that is. So they don't give a lot of information as to why, whatever, but they're saying according to Collider, it uses while it remains in development, production has been indefinitely put on hold for reasons unknown. Pratt remains attached as a principal player. Pratt has been in place to portray Duncan, the assassin, with a personality disorder who assumes the attributes of a cowboy, ninja, and a Viking. So we'll have to see. Remember now, I just came to y'all and said Priyanka Chopra was attached as well as a female lead in the movie too. I was excited because what I was learning more about Cowboy Ninja Viking, I was excited with the prospect of how good that could be, because that was a possibility of, if it does well, if it came out, they could have done a second one, because this looks like one of those ones where it can definitely become a franchise for Chris Pratt to helm on. He's already doing Jurassic Park, he's doing Guardians of the Galaxy, and then here you go. Yeah, I'm gonna say Game of Thrones, y'all. Don't mind me. I don't know where that came from, but anyway. So I'm just iffy because I really want live action anime to work out. Like I stated, also a lot of people weren't too happy with the way Ghost in the Shell did, with Scarlett Johansson, whichever, and all that. But the possibilities were endless because the overall look of it was good. The potential is there. I think Alita Battle Angel is going to put up to a high bar, whichever, with James Cameron on board, of course, producing, and Robert Rodriguez being at the helm as a director. I'm excited for that movie. I'm truly excited. That trailer was awesome. So I'm really hoping some other things. And speaking of some, let me just put it out there. I had a discussion real quick with a friend talking about some ones that I grew up watching. Of course, Dragon Ball Z. There were some other ones I grew up watching. I want to say it's a Samurai Chukla. Of course, Cowboy Bebop. I would have loved to see Cowboy Bebop. Another one I grew up that I like, whichever, and a lot of people, because he wasn't familiar with this one, was Blackjack. I'll be honest with you, I really would love for them if they didn't do a one for Samurai Champloo, that they would do Cowboy Bebop or even Blackjack. Blackjack is totally different from the other ones, like I discussed it. Like, it's just something a little bit different than what I was used to. Because a lot of the other ones I watch is always some sort of confrontation and battle, but this one was more about the intelligence that he would use, to solve certain cases, whatever, and all that. Whichever you see him as some sort of not a real doctor, but being able to get the situation of certain case studies or tests or whatever, or dealing with certain, clients, whatever, and all that, being able to figure out the situations or things that were wrong with them, whatever, and all, and using his smarts, whatever. And he has little girl sidekick. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine, whatever. But if you pull it up and you understand what I'm talking about, pull up Blackjack. I actually like that. I love me some anime. Back in the day, you couldn't stop me every, evening, even on the weekends. It was all anime until the wee hours of the mornings, Saturday and Sunday mornings, whatever, just watching them, whatever. So, but yeah, I really hope that they consider doing some more, and I'm hoping, like I said, that Alita does lead the charge, that people like, okay, we might have to look into this more or whatever, and some of these other film companies, follow suit, whichever. So, because I feel like if James Cameron's at the helm of it, he's going to make sure that thing is so damn good that they'll do another one, and then this will definitely open up some more to be considered doing it. And now the technology, as he said, is more ripe now to do that type of movie, because they couldn't have done this, 15, 20 years ago, that was key. I give him kudos for that, because he's a very good director, and he's good at pinpointing is a good time to come up with certain things. So I'm giving the benefit. I'm still trying to understand the amount of avatars we're going to get, but you know what? He knows what he's doing, so I give him the benefit for that. So we'll have to see what pans out this. I'm hoping by next year they might pull, take this off of being, put on hold or delayed, and go ahead and move forward with this. So whichever. So, but with that said, you guys, that is the rest of my news. I hope if some of the stuff I discussed, you all want to comment below. Let me know what you all think. Let me know what you think about the stuff that's happening with Sony, DC, of course, stuff with Stephen King. You already know, I'm a fan of his work. And just, overall, if it's something I discuss, whatever you just want to talk about in the comment sections, please, by all means, hit me up in the comment section. I will most definitely respond to you guys. So with that said, you guys, I will see you on the next movie news. You guys take care.